Hey, welcome everyone. All things Mets talk. It's Brenda. I'm not here with Andreina. I'm not here with Emily. I'm solo tonight. So you guys got to help me out. Andreina, it's her birthday. So she's out celebrating. Didn't want to talk about the Mets to ruin her birthday party. And Emily went to the dentist, which was probably better than talking about the Mets. So she may join us in the chat, but probably not able to join us live hosting because she probably is all like numbed out in her mouth. And like I said, the dentist was probably better than actually talking about the Mets. So let's see who we have in the chat room. Okay, let me put my glasses on. We have Darren, we have Marge. Welcome. I'm sure we'll get some more people straggling on. What a terrible, terrible weekend. I don't know what was going on with the Mets. They were just so listless. And hitless, it rhymes. They were pathetic, right? Offensively, even defensively, and pitching wise. I mean, just overall, a really terrible weekend, a disaster. The road trip just ended up being a losing road trip for them. So 4-6 instead of 5-5. And we have some points out there that Darren had already started a while ago. I have my own points, which I'm going to put up and show you. So maybe we'll get started with the points that I have first. And then we'll get into those that are viewing. So I am just going to share my points of the weekend. And let's see. Okay, here it is. These are my points. First of all, the Mets, they're still only a half game out of the wild card, which is really quite amazing, but it's aggravating too because they could be on top of the wild card. They could be right behind Philadelphia if they were playing well, if they were playing like they did in June and July. Instead of this pathetic, anemic team that's out there in August. So, like I said, the 4-6 road trip, they lost 2 to the Angels. I saw, Darren, you put a comment up there about that. If only they had won that game, they were winning and they blew, they would have been 500, right? Because it's unacceptable. The Angels are 52-66. They could have done better, performed better against them for sure. So to lose that series was terrible. Of course, getting swept by the Mariners. We knew they had a great pitching staff, but this was like just beyond belief, like just getting 1 run for the weekend. So that was horrible. I wanted to throw out some interesting statistics out there. So prior to the West Coast trip, the Mets had a 46.9 chance of making the playoffs. Now it's down to 27.9. Of course, that could fluctuate depending on how they do. They get in a really good run, that's going to change. But it just goes to show, confidence level of what people are predicting with this team now. I think Severino's tired. We'll talk more about that. The woeful offense. I mean, you have Nimmo, you have Alonso, Martinez. Those are just a few, and there's so many more. I mean, I couldn't fit everything on here in every name. Where's Winker? I heard Tyler Stewart's been impressive with the Nats. That's the guy they traded to get Winker. They traded to the Nats, so that's disappointing. To see somebody who's doing well on another team. Once again, a Met doing well on another team after he gave him up. And then, we have Stinky Stanek, no Octane, Octavino. We also, which I find really interesting, guys, and we're going to talk about this because I think this is an important factor because the Mets are coming home now, is that the Mets are 17th in attendance. And I think that says a lot about the fan base and their confidence level. I think they're like, I don't want to be pulled into this. I don't want to invest in this team and go to the ballpark, and then they're up and down and losing. So I think that we can talk more about that. 2 more other points. Thank God for Blackburn, because they would even be worse off. And then the Mets go on a road trip again, San Diego, Arizona, so out to the West Coast. So hopefully they're going to do better for their next road trip. So let's get some comments out there. Let's see who else has joined us too. Greg joined. Hi, Greg. Let's see. We're going to go back in and see. And then we have Tom. Hi, Tom. Okay, let's see what Greg says. He says, I think the Mets will be fine if they can beat up on Oakland and Miami. If they play down to their competition, it's going to be very bad. Yeah. Well, we I think all agree to that. But you know, then they play San Diego and Arizona. It's the hottest teams right now, but are they going to be hot, you know, at the end of the month? We can only hope that they'll cool off, because that's what the Mets did. That's what, like, all teams that go on these runs, they never can sustain them. So we can only hope that when we play those teams that are over 500, that we're competing for that wild card spot, that they're not playing as well as they are right now currently. So let me go to the top here and see what other Daron had said. I know he has a shout out. Oh, I know, Andreina, it's her birthday, so she's not here, but thank you for that. I know we're still confident, right? Let's go Mets. The only 2 guys that look like they wanted to win were Lindor and McNeil, who both had hits throughout the series, despite Lindor's key misplay, which led to the floodgates being open. You know, yeah, the floodgates were open. However, if you don't score runs, you're not going to win, right? So even though, yeah, it put them down, it would have been 1-0 instead of 4-0 without that error by Lindor. They still, you know, didn't show up at the plate. And I know Lindor had his hits, but how many runners can we actually leave on base? I mean, I think the Mets are going to probably go for the record here. They're leaving so many runners on base, and they're just not hitting now. And kudos to Seattle. I mean, they have the best pitching in baseball, but still 1 run, crazy, right? Darren also added that the Mets offense was anemic. We talked about that. Manaea's outing was most disappointing. Yeah. You know, so I love Manaea. He's been doing great. I guess I could say, you know, you're not going to always have those outings that he's been having where he, you know, he shut out teams 2 times in a row. So I think we're kind of due for that. It just came at an unfortunate time. And it's interesting because one of the announcers were saying, well, you know, what is it about a pitcher where they could look so brilliant and then they could, you know, show up and look terrible? And I think it was Todd Zeal who commented. He said, you know what? They're human. They're going to have bad outings. They're going to have bad days. They could be sick, under the weather, travel, whatever. And it just happens, right? So it was disappointing, but, you know, I can't fault him because he's done so much good recently. So let's see who else is here. And then I'll go back. Darren had some more comments. I'll go back to yours, Darren. Mark's here. Welcome, Mark. Tom, oh gosh, Tom, you have a lot going on with your Red Sox. I don't even want to mention those guys. Let me see what you have here. $40 to park may be hurting the attendance. Okay, yeah. I'm glad you're commenting on attend, like, you know, some of these points that I brought out. I want to tell you this because we have our outing this Saturday. And we're hoping everybody comes and meets us, in this location, which is sort of in a parking location, the bus parking, and they have a great spot to tailgate. So there's grass and you can bring chairs and food and hang out. I never park there. I never park in the parking lot. I always park on the street. I walk. It's not that far. It's just over the bridge. And I feel like my car's safe for 40 years. I never had a problem. So, and then I do have another story about that whole parking thing. Somebody actually found my keys during the World Series, actually, and was waiting for my sister and I to come back to the car with the keys. So you can park on the street. It can be safe, believe it or not. So yeah, I think the big thing, they were terrible at the beginning of the year. That's number one. Their attendance was 21% lower, like May year to date. So in May, at the end of May, they were doing 21% worse in attendance than the prior year. So you expected them to pick up like when they started playing well, more fans, but it really didn't pick up to the point to make up, I think, for those first 2 months. So I think that had a big factor. It is expensive too. Once you're in the ballpark, bring food, by the way. Do not buy the food there, even though it's good food. Just another saving tip for you guys. Let's see who else. I think, Ron has a comment. McNeil is hitting, but his infield decisions are questionable. Yeah, McNeil, he's not your best decision maker out there, even on the bases. It's just so sometimes, it's like, where is your head? But I was so glad to see that home run, even though it meant nothing. I was like, at least he got a run in for the Mets, because it would have been really pathetic if they got shut out again. And it didn't matter. It was pathetic anyway, one run. So any other comments out there? I think Marge had a comment about their bats died. It's so interesting from 1 month to the next to see, how well they were hitting. I already mentioned a few players. Nimmo is just not doing it. He's terrible, right? I think he needs a break. Just give him rest him. They benched McNeil when he wasn't playing well. So I think maybe they need to do that with Nimmo. The problem is who's going to replace him, because Winker's not doing well. Then you have the other guys. Alonso, he had those 2 home runs, Colorado. He did look good for a while, but this weekend he looked terrible at the plate. Just swinging at bad pitches, getting fooled. And the Mets, once again, did not score when runners were, in scoring position. They did not drive them in. So that was pretty bad too. So let's see what else we have out there. Let's see. Yeah, these guys, the Padres and D-backs are really out of control, especially the Padres, because of those games that they came back to win. So when I was doing the scoreboard watching, which I do when the Mets are in it, I was like hopeful that they were going to lose a few games there, in the beginning of the series with Miami. They were down. I was like, oh, yes, the Mets are going to catch up, on them. And they came back and won. So the Padres are like the Mets right now of June and July. And I want to tell you, I was in San Diego when the Mets were playing San Diego home. And the Mets played San Diego really well. And they held them down. Like, San Diego was not hitting at all. The Mets looked great. And you sure heard these fans calling in. I had their sports radio show on, and they were just livid. So they were like Met fans, you know. I swear, there was like no shot. You know, Padres aren't going to make it. They're a terrible team. Nothing's going their way. They can't hit. They can't score runs. Their pitching's awful. So it's so interesting how just in a couple months things can change, and it's like the tables are turned now. So let's see what else we got. Yeah, Diaz would do in Seattle. Yeah. Yeah, if he had the opportunity, right? So what else do we have going on there, guys? Let me see if I covered you guys. Yeah, so Daron says the Mets fans are waiting for the other shoe to drop based on past history, but hopefully this team will be better. Yeah, I think we don't want to commit, right? We don't want to be pulled in and have our hearts broken by this team. So we're being very cautious, but we know that they've done it before, like they played well. The question is, was that just a small sample size for the Mets, or was it something that we could really take and say, hey, you know what, they can go on another winning streak, and this is what it'll take to have that happen. So since you brought that up, in the chat room, guys, or even if you're listening to this, please comment, because we have a lot of viewers that listen afterwards. They can't make it this time. Write in the chat or in the comment section what you think it will take for the Mets to turn it around right now, to get back in front in the wild card, to start winning, to go on a good run. So whether it's the pitching, the hitting, like maybe it's a certain player that has to improve. So maybe it's a pickup they need. So let me know, put it in the chat, all your ideas of how the Mets can improve and do, and maybe we don't even think that's possible. So maybe the answer is it's not going to happen. So let's see. And guys, if I missed some of your comments, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to multitask here, but hopefully I'll get to you. So be patient. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so Ron has a great comment. The best game was against the Cardinals. Yeah, it was really good, especially because they had lost the series to the Angels. They had to fly out, different time zone, really looked good. And I was hopeful. I mean, they did win 2 in Colorado, so I felt good about them winning that series. But, you know, to end the way they did in Seattle was really disappointing. But good point about that Cardinals series. First of all, I want to say poo-poo on MLB for doing that to the Mets. I don't know if there could have been a better way to reschedule that game, but really that's supposed to be a break for them. They needed that as a rest day, and they had to fly to Missouri and play that game. Like, how terrible that was. And I don't say excuses for this team, because, you got to play. Look at what Bader said. He was like, hey, I think it's great that we're traveling like this. We're up for it. We'll do great. It is what it is. And now look, they're not making excuses about it. So I don't think we should. So that's my take on that. So let's see what else we have. Okay, we have some really good comments here. Let me see. The bullpen has to be reliable for one thing. Yeah, of course. Stanek looked terrible. Octavino's not good. Forget the Youngs, whatever. If it's Danny, Alex, they're not doing it. We only have Budo, right? We have Budo doing well. But and we're not going to see Diaz if you're not really in a safe situation. So that's unfortunate too. So I joined us. Oh, I hope your dental works okay and you're not too much in pain. It's probably less pain than, watching the Mets. So Emily says we need Reed Foley, Nunez back, and Alonso needs to get hot along with Nimmo and everyone else. Yeah. So important points. Too, the guys that have been out in the bullpen, they're going to come back. I mean, yeah, it's going to be like it's going to take them a while to get back into playing condition, but they were kind of rested because they were worn out. So I'm hoping that when they're back, they're fully healthy, 100%, they're in good condition to finish strong. So I think that's going to be a big factor as well for them to see how they're going to do when they come back. Let's see. Christina has a point. Bring back McDonald's. Grimace. Good point. I know. Where's Grimace been? I think, guys, help me out, but I think Grimace, cousin or something, was at the Olympics. I saw this red looking Grimace. So if you know anything about that, let me know. But I thought, maybe Grimace was with his cousin in Paris. So he disappeared. But how about he throw out the first pitch for one of the games? I love that. Such a great point. Let me see what. Okay, so Mark says the end of September is daunting. Philly 7 times, Atlanta 3 times, Milwaukee 3 times. That's the last year. The last of the season is against Milwaukee in Milwaukee, by the way. Act like winners who are challenging for the division, not also, let me see, Rams, not like also Rams hoping for, runs maybe hoping for a wild card. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. But somebody commented today. I was listening on FAN. They were commenting that the Mets play well against Atlanta and Phillies. They get up for those games, but we'll see, right? Because what they were doing, in June, July, we don't know if they're going to have that in them in September. And also, what's it going to be like for those other teams if they're in the race? Look at how terrible Atlanta's been playing. I mean, that just makes me so upset that the Mets didn't go ahead of Atlanta coming back home. They did for temporarily, and then they lost it, which was so disappointing. So let's hope that Atlanta continues to have their meltdown and look awful out there, and the Mets capture them again. And also Philadelphia's looked pretty bad too. Another reason why I'm upset that the Mets should be doing better. Let's see what else. Let's see. We have Darren says to win against bottom feeders and avoid getting swept by good teams and winning some of those series against better teams. Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, we took for granted the Angels, right? And then they only won, they lost. They won one game. They lost that series. So let's not take teams for granted. And, this Oakland and Miami, come on now. If you don't win 5 out of 6, I'm going to be really upset. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. 5 out of 6. Yeah, hopefully they bounce back. Let's see. The Mets also have to stop striking out, looking, right? Striking out by looking, and just not be analytical and perform. Yeah. I think sometimes too, what happens is when they start losing, they're pressing. And these guys that have all the weight on them, it's just like Alonso, right? I think he may feel like he's always got to hit a home run. And if he doesn't, then he's not contributing. These guys just got to relax. Like, take a chill pill, start singing, "Oh my God," let's get into that. Remember, they seemed very relaxed when they were winning, when June, July, they seemed, like they were enjoying the game. It was entertaining for them. It was entertaining for us. And they weren't pressing. It seemed effortless. I mean, when Nimmo was hitting all those home runs, didn't it seem like he was having no issues at all? And now it's just pressing. Even Alonso, when he wasn't hitting home runs all the time, he was hitting doubles. He was, for average, doing okay. Martinez dropped off. He needs to get better. All these guys have to just, show up. So let's see. Greg says, I think the games next week, San Diego, Arizona, really tell where we stand. And then into Chicago for the White Sox after those 6 games. Yeah, I mean, if there's a fan base that feels worse than us, it's the White Sox for sure. And, it'd be nice to get them, when they're down, which seems to be most of the season, and beat up on them, right? That's what we should do. We should be beating up on those teams. And speaking of that, okay, speaking of the Met fans, I have a clip. All right, so any kids out there, no kids, because it's going to be like explicit language, all right? So cover their ears, or, I'm just giving you a warning ahead of time. But I think this video is what Met fans are feeling, okay? So I'm going to play it. So apologies ahead of time if you're offended, but here it is. I mean, it's part of the venting session tonight. So
build you for the rest of your life, because it's such a fucking miserable franchise. A lot of peaks and valleys with this team. So if that's the best part, what's the worst part? Probably May through September.
So I know that's pretty horrible. So the guy he basically said, they train you, the franchise helps you endure so much, right? And because it's such a miserable franchise, according to this guy, and it just gets worse, at the end of the year. So that was just like a fan at Citi Field being interviewed. And I showed it because I really feel like sometimes we look at the franchise and we go, when are they ever going to get us back to the World Series? When is this organization going to be winning? And it's been a long time. 1986 is a long time to be waiting. So really hoping for something big. But, having said that, I want to say we didn't have the expectation this year of going to the World Series, right? This was going to be like a building year, get some pieces to the puzzle. And next year is going to be our year. And it just seems like, after that run, everybody's like, well, why not? Why not? They could do it. And then them losing again just brought us back into like, oh, what did this franchise, what did this organization do for us? And I think people are pointing out at the trade deadline and saying, what did you do to make a difference on this team? We're actually playing worse after the trade deadline than before. So what is going on? So a lot of fans are just feeling so miserable about this team. And I'm hopeful, the comments that you had were right on. You got to win against the teams that you need to win against, the ones that are, under 500 And then you just got to win enough against the teams you're competing against and win series against them. They have to win series against Arizona and the Padres. So what is, just everybody out there, it's like 7 o'clock. We're going to finish up soon. Just before we end this, just write in the chat, what's your confidence level? If you could do 1 to 10, what's your confidence level this week? We're playing Oakland, Miami. So it would be like a 1 would be terrible. A 10 would be great. So put it out in the chat. Put it out in comments so we know. And then we'll get an idea. Oh my gosh, Emily. Yeah, too. Emily's really down and out. She's just feeling terrible. She doesn't want to watch them. Oh, and then Darren says that Met fans are like the cat trying to reach the dangling string, which for us represents the World Series. Yeah. Unfortunately, the cat that falls, right, and has 9 lives, but still never kind of gets to that point where they capture the string. Yeah. Okay, so Tom is a 9 because, hey, you know what? It's Oakland, it's Miami. Plus, we're going to the game on Saturday, guys. We're going to see Miami. So our group, like 20 of us are going to be out there. We're going to celebrate before, just being Met fans, getting to know each other face to face. We might not have met each other before. We're going to tailgate, and then we're going to go see them beat Miami because they should. And unfortunately, Severino's pitching, so we better get his act together by then. But I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm glad to see Severino pitch, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And it's a day game. We know what it's like for day games. And the Mets play a day game Thursday too. So hopefully they'll win one of those. Let's see. If the aim is to beat bad teams and not lose against, because I have 0 confidence. Aw, Mark. Well, Mark's going to the game on Saturday. I hope you have some confidence that they'll win for you there. 5. Yeah, that's a cautious 5, right? Let's see. There's fingers crossed. Anybody else out there before we end this? I know, Darren, you had a lot of comments too. I didn't get to all of them, but those were great. I appreciate all of you contributing. Thank you for being patient with me while Andreina's away, and she'll be back next week. And she'll also be at the game on Saturday. So I hope you can make it. I know it's hard for some of you, especially, we had somebody last week who's from Hawaii. I guess they're not making it. But for those that are coming, I can't wait for it. So we're going to end this. I appreciate all of you. Please share, subscribe if you haven't. Get other people to subscribe. We're trying to build that up. It's taken a while, but hopefully we'll get there. Oh, yeah. So Mark's saying he's hoping to meet some of the regulars, the All Things Mets regulars. Yeah, and you will, which is great. We have a good following, and a lot of those subscribers are coming to the game, which is great. And I know, thank you, Tom. I know Tom can't make it, but next game he will. But I appreciate you being here now. So let's see if I can find a good Mets song to end it. And I'll just put all your comments on while we... All right. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I know. I heard that. Greg gave me the news. I'm going to miss 880 the news. But I guess it's already the Met channel, so makes sense. ESPN taking over. everybody.